Welcome. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this small charm in the shape of a letter. It's been pewter cast in a card mold. This card mold would be placed in the pewter casting machine vertically. I have a well here where I pour in the molten metal. As the well fills, it then overflows down the runner here into the actual cavity where the letter's formed. And I have these risers, which are like chimneys that let the air in the mold escape as the pewter pours in. So you can see how hopefully that letter would have come out of that mold. It's a slightly different font, but effectively it's the same process. I've added on here a little lobster claw and a metal loop. I'm not going to look at the details of how I did that. I'm just going to concentrate on how I used 2D Design, which is my software here, to create the CAD file for laser cutting this mold here, voila, and that's the goal of this particular video tutorial. Okay, so let's get straight on the case. As usual in 2D Design, I'm going to go to Grid Lock. I'm going to right click here, put my grid spacing to 5mm to give myself a little more resolution. I'm going to change the grid here to lines and I'm going to make those pale blue. I find that so much easier to work with. I'm also going to zoom in a little bit here at the top, and actually the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a rectangle that represents the size of the card mold here. So I'm going to come to the rectangle tool up here. I've got grid lock turned on so I can just snap to the grid in the top left corner there, and I'm going to make this so it's going to be 70mm in width and 100mm in depth. So I'm looking at my relative grid reference down here, which currently is blank, but as I move my mouse onto the drawing area you can see the numbers appear. I want my X to be 70 and my Y here will be negative 100 because I'm moving down. So 70 by negative 100, that's the size of my mold. Let's click there and confirm that. Okay, so now I have an idea of the space I have available. Now, as a rule of thumb here, when I'm making things for casting using these pieces of card in a pewter casting machine, I want to keep a margin of 10mm around the edge here to make sure that when I put my backing plate onto, here we go, let's get a piece of card here. When I put a backing plate onto this, on both the back and the front, it basically has a good seal around the edge here so that the pewter doesn't escape. So bearing that in mind, basically I need to make sure that I leave here. Let's just try and hatch this out. Well, I'll just put a line down, I think. I need to make sure, here we go, let's go to the Polyline tool. I need to really make sure that I keep anything in this U shape here just clean card, nothing goes in there. I also need to make sure as well that I've got sufficient volume of pewter here so that through gravity casting we actually have sufficient kind of mass of pewter to fill evenly the cavity that I want. So for that, what I'm going to suggest I do here is that basically the top half roughly of this mold, that's not quite half there, is it, but basically that top half there is going to be kept for the well and the runner, which means I've got this space down here to actually make my letter. Now I'm just quickly going to put some dimensions on here so we can see how much I'm suggesting we have, and this is coming to a total of, well, 50 by 45. You could push that to 50, I suppose. You know, I could extend that up to 50 there. Depends on the complexity of the shape. A simple shape would be okay. A more complex shape, I would suggest you need to have more pewter pouring into the well and the runner, and basically more mass of pewter pushing the pewter into our cavity. So that's a general kind of guideline. Now the letter I'm going to make here, I think I'm going to do two. I'm going to do a B, a bit like a D, a bit different, and I'm going to do a Z. So those are my two ideas. So here we go. Without further ado, I'm going to come to my text tool here. Let's click on the side over here. I'm going to first of all do the B, so capital B in this particular case. I could do lowercase. I'm going to go to settings, and I was thinking about this, which fonts to use, and now then, and I'm just messing around here, going backwards and forwards. I had this all sorted, and I'm going to go with, here we are. It was Bookman. Okay, now there's Book Antica here and Bookman Old. I was going to originally go with Book Antica, and I think I will actually, just to get the the idea out here. I'm going to make this, no, I'll go regular to begin with. Let's see what I get. Oh, and in settings as well, I want to choose a height. I've got 20 millimeters in height here. The model I've got here is 25. I've actually got another D that I made here that is actually smaller, and I'm going to, I think that's a bit on the big side. I'm going to stick with 20 for this. So let's see how that looks. Okay, so there's my B. I think I'm just going to take that. Let's copy and paste, so Control C, Control V, and I'm going to put another 2 over here, and I'm just going to make a few quick modifications. So this second one here, I'm going to make this bold, and this one here, I'm going to make this so it's going to be Bookman, and I'm going to make that bold as well. So my idea here is that I'm trying to explore, well, my goal here is to look at the thickness of the bars that make up the letter B, and my consideration here is that if I have a B that's too thin for the pewter, then the pewter might not flow very successfully. It might even break as well. The actual casting might break if it's you know, pulled and tugged around a bit. So I think here I'm going to go with the middle ground and go with this B here. Seems to be the best bet. So let's just bring that one across there. I'm happy with the size. I can see it's going to fit in my mold beautifully. I could even potentially cast 2, but for this I'm just going to cast 1. Okay, so let's pop that over there. And what I'm now going to do is zoom in on this so I can see it more clearly. Okay, so what my thinking is I want to have a little loop that comes over the top here. So to do that, I'm going to come to a circle tool, and I could, start to draw circles in here, but you can see that with the grid lock turned on, it's not really giving me much control. So I'm going to escape that, and instead what I'm going to do is come to step lock, which gives me 1mm step spacing. Let's see if that gives me more success. I could click here, and I could try and bring out that loop there. And in the same way, I'm not completely convinced, because what I'm wanting it to happen here is that the profile of this little dome where I'm going to have the hole for my keychain, I want to basically be in line with this vertical bar, and I want it just to be the same width, or the diameter of this the same width as this bar. So again, that's not enough control in 2D design. Let's go back to step lock. I'm going to put my step spacing here to 0.5, so 0.5mm step spacing. And I'm also at this point going to get the dimension line tool, and what I want to do is just work out what that dimension is. So I'm pretty much spot on there. I'm slightly off, but it's 4mm. Okay, so now why don't I hold down the mouse button on the circle tool, go to a circle with a given center and a fixed radius, and my radius for a 4cm diameter circle is going to be 2 radius, 4 diameter. Let's click on that, and also now I've got my 0.5 mil grid space or step spacing. I can see I can really just pull the center of that circle so it's just touching the top of the B there. So I'm really happy with that. I'm going to drop that there. If I wanted to, I could delete that. In this case, I will. Sometimes I kind of duplicate the B with the dimension lines, but I'm not going to worry. So there's my little dome at the top. Now if I wanted to, I could select this circle, and I could come to fill, and I could make that solid black, and now I'm really starting to see how that B is going to look, imagining that the black is actually the cast pewter. So that looks great. I'm going to drill the hole later once it's cast, and I have in the past kind of tried to line it up with a little mark in my casting. Now I'm just going to drill that out just by eyesight. And hopefully it's going to be nice and accurate. Okay, now I can't necessarily cut this out yet. If I select the B, in our laser cutter settings, blue cuts, if I select the B here and I make it so that the outline color of that B is blue, I don't know whether you can see that there. If I make the fill no fill, you'll see that I've now got that cutout for the B, but unfortunately, and I'm going to come back to gridlock here as I move this circle so I can snap it back in again, unfortunately that blue cutout does not include the circle. So look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put that line color back to black. I'm going to, while I'm at it, let's put the fill color back to black as well. There you go. And what I'm going to do instead is use the contouring tool. So here's the contour tool on the left hand side. I want to have a 0 contour spacing. In fact, I'll leave it as 5 for the time being. Well, let's see what happens. This is the basic 5mm contour. I'm going to do this in blue, and let's click. I'll click on the outside edge there, and you can see it gives this 5mm contour gap. I'm just going to prove that it's 5mm there. okay, between the edge of the B, a bit like contours on a map when you're showing gradients of a hilly region. So I don't want to actually cut it right out here. I want to be able to cut the B out and this little dome at the top for my keychain, right against the edge of the B. So let's go back to the contour tool. I want to put my contour spacing to 0, and I'm going to click on this now, and hopefully you can see there I've now got this outline. Again, I'm going to go to gridlock here, bring this across, and there's my B contoured. Okay, fantastic. Of course, I've also got to deal with the counters here in the middle, so I need to come back to my contour tool again, and what I'm going to do now is click here and here in the counters, and then now I should be able to select, shift select, select all those parts. I'm actually going to copy and paste this. There we go. And I'm also going to make this into one continuous path. So I'm going to go to edit and make path. That makes it into one sequence of lines. Even though they're separate, that now means that effectively they're grouped together, but it's a more powerful form of grouping. I'm not going to go into the reason for that now. I'll keep it simple. I'm going to pop that over here. There's my B. Now, how am I going to be casting this? I think in the case with this B, I want to try and keep this dome nice and clean and easy. So I'm going to spin it around. I'm going to come to the radial lock tool, and that means that when I spin this, it's going to be, if I right click, it's going to be snapping to step angles of 45 degrees. So here we go. I'm going to left click on this and then spin that around, and there's my B upside down. So I'm now going to be pouring in my pewter. In fact, thinking about this a bit more, I'm going to modify this again. I'm actually going to rotate it a bit more. Now I could at this point, I could turn off the radial lock and just kind of adjust it tiny bits like this, but I'm going to show you a different technique. I'm going to put step angle here to 15 degrees, and now with the radial lock turned on, I can now just tilt that through 15 degrees, and actually that's the angle I want to do it at, I think, because then I can pour in this top left corner here, and I think it's all going to flow around. And there may be a slight problem just here with the pewter coming up into this corner. Let's have a see. How about why didn't that snap in there? I know why. Silly me. Is that back to normal? It looks like it's slightly off. Anyway, I'm actually going to try that at 10. Let's try that. I want to turn gridlock off, that's why. That makes it easier. Okay. Is that any better? No, I'm just getting carried away. Ah, right, there you go. So actually, that's all gone horribly wrong. That's weird. It's kind of lost its... Yeah, it's no longer right that. I'm not happy at all. So look, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to zap that. And this is why I keep this backed up over here. What I can now do is select, shift select, copy, paste. I haven't got gridlock turned on there. I've got to delete it. Let's turn on gridlock and turn radial lock off. I'm going to bring this, let's make it into a path. So in a way that's annoying, but I'm glad you're seeing the problem occurring there. Maybe I'm fussing too much. Turn gridlock off, turn radial lock on. I've got a 10-degree step spacing, and let's just see if I can snap that through. In fact, it wants to be all the way over there, and then I want to just rotate it another 10 degrees like that. Yeah, okay, I'm happy with that. I'm really just getting fussy now, aren't I? I should just keep it simple. Okay, so let's just select that now. Put it in the middle. I could again go into step lock and put it more carefully in the middle, but I like the fact it's on gridlock there, snap into this 5mm grid. Take it down a bit so I've got a 10mm margin here at the bottom. Now I need to put in the well and the runner. So let's have a see. I'm actually going to get rid of this box. I'm going to keep these lines on the side here because it's kind of defining where I can work with my well and my runner. So let's now come to the Polyline tool. I'm going to keep gridlock on for the time being, and I'm going to snap this in. Now let's have a see. Yeah, I'll keep this blue, I think. So I'm going to be coming in here. Let's have a reasonable sized well. That's going to come up to here. And then now let's come to step lock, give me myself a little bit more control. I'm going to come all the way down. In fact, I'm going to come down here vertically, I think, because I want to have like quite a wide column there, quite a wide runner coming in. So I've got plenty of pewter, and then I want to make it so it's going to come into this B. Now if I just zoom in a bit here at the same time, I've got a bit more control, a bit further perhaps. I'm thinking I want to come in about here, and then I want to come out I think right on that corner is where I want to be. Do I, don't I? Maybe about there. Okay, then I might go back onto Gridlock now, and let's just try and get this all the way to the top. Okay, and right click to finish. So I'm I'm happy with that. I'm happy with how it's looking. I want to maintain the profile of this corner here, but that looks nice. Okay, so that's got my well and my runner. Now I need to do the risers. So the risers, I'm going to use a polyline again. Now for this, I'm going to change the color to green. Our laser cut is going to do a nice deep engrave with the green here, or deep cut. But I'm also going to change the line thickness here to 0.25. You can't do 0.5. I'm going to do 0.25, and that means not only is it going to be a relatively deep cut into the card, it's also going to be a little wider, which lets a bit more of the air trapped inside escape. So where am I going to put this? Well, let's go on to step lock again. Let's zoom in a little bit more here. And I want to just reposition my picture a bit. So this is an important corner. I want to take something into here, and then I'm going to bring it out over to here and feed that up like that. Okay, what else have I got here? I'm thinking about having something here. Yeah, I think I will. Let's have, am I convinced by the positioning there? Here, I might turn the step lock off, and I might just try and get right into that corner, right there. Okay, now step lock on again, because I want to try and use it as much as I can. And then let's have this going all the way up like that. Right click to finish, and then over on this side here, let's have a look. It's going to flow around here. Yeah, I feel like I need to have something here to let the gas escape to the air escape. So let's do this, and then let's just have this one coming up and follow that edge there, which is my kind of tolerance for the how far I can go to the edge. So there we are. That is my my mold ready to go. So not quite, sorry, excuse me, there's one or two more things I need to do. I'm actually at this point, this is the way I operate. I like to make backups of everything, so let me just take those, make sure grid lock's on so everything's snapping to the grid. I'll take those over here, make that a bit higher. In fact, I might just pop it in the middle there so it's with the other ones. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it and paste it, Control C, Control V. Let's just take that to the side, so I've got that as a backup. Now I need to delete those dimension lines. I don't want those for laser cutting. And the last thing I'm going to do here is just select this rectangle, and let's make that blue. Okay, and that now is ready to go. Of course, I could also get rid of that black kind of margin there as well, which was how far I can go to the edge. So that's looking really good. Yeah, look, I could have gone a bit deeper there. I could have gone a bit deeper with the bead to get a little bit more of a runner, but I think I'm going to be okay. I did say at the start of the video I would do a Z as well. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make the Z outside the actual video, and then restart the video with the Z in place, where I've added the welds and runners and kind of explain my logic with that. And I'll also have laser cut them both, and you'll see what the molds look like. So I'll do this quickly right now. Okay, so I've got the molds laser cutting at the moment, and I've just discovered something I think is very interesting, which is the fact that in a previous video on this, I set the line thickness here to 0.5, and as a result, it laser engraved this as a thick line into the mold, which was very, very successful. But in this video, I thought, well, maybe 0.5 was too thick, so I chose to do it 0.25 or 1/4 of a millimeter, and what happened was it didn't laser engrave this as a thick bar. It took 0.25 millimeters to be close enough to be a thin line, and basically just laser cut a thin beam, which was effectively the same as this. So making it 0.25 millimeters thickness of line didn't make any difference. I may as well have just done it as a thin line, as in a thin line, like a fine line, should I say. So it looks like you have to put this to 0.5 for it to actually engrave in a thicker riser for the air to escape. Now I don't know where the threshold is between 0.25 and 0.5, and that might involve some more investigation, but I'm not going to worry about it now. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the laser cutter, see what's happening there, and then show you the difference between the version with a 0.25 millimeter, or effectively a thin laser engraved cut, and then the 0.5 millimeter, which gives me this slightly thicker engraving. Okay, so here they here they all are. You can't quite see them all, so I'm going to have to just drag this to the side. Let's have a look. Can I do that? Yes, I can. There they all are. So this is the version with just the thin line for the risers, and again the Z here, and then here I've got the slightly thicker line, and I'm thinking that that's going to allow the gas to escape better. So this is with a green line with a thickness of 0.5 or half a millimeter. If I just start to sort of map out what's going to happen here, so there's my well and there's my runner. This is not engraved all the way through, so that's just my riser, but you can see it's got plenty of depth there, so the gas should escape easily. And then let's just get a pencil here and see if I can pick this out. Yeah, so that's bringing out the B there, but unfortunately I've got my counters included, so what I'll need to do is punch those out. And I'll need to place all those onto a backing plate, which I will do in another video. Let's check this one out here. So that's my Z, and is it coming there? Yes, it is. It's coming. I've just got to work it a little bit. Okay, I need to work that a bit more perhaps with an X-Acto blade, but I'll also need to put that little element in there so it separates the pewter across. Let's have a look at these here. That's the B and the Z with the thicker risers. Let's just see if the Z comes out a bit more easily. Yes, it does. Okay, so that's literally the size of the pewter casting I'm going to get, and you can kind of compare that against the one that I showed you at the start. So this is going to be quite a bit neater, and I need to make sure again that I just put this in the right position, which I will demonstrate to you, which is going to, I think, be like this. There we go, that's the way it goes. There you go. But I will demonstrate that to you in another video. So we're ready to go ahead and cast, and I'll look at that next.